All right, you're about to hear my unfiltered thoughts on hiring and outsourcing and team building as a small business owner. Checking to make sure HR isn't around. But real talk, in this video, I am going to take you behind the scenes and talk about the do's and the don'ts of hiring. The rate that a small business can grow is astounding. These are my insider tips on the best ways to find people, to manage and work with them, to expand your business, and what to avoid along the way. Tap that thumbs up button below if you've done something in the past 7 days and you've thought, I probably shouldn't be doing this task as the owner, as the CEO, as the visionary. Happens to me all the time. And hit the subscribe because I'm off-roading a little bit from copywriting talk, and you're catching me in the middle of a mini series where I'm taking you more behind the scenes of my copywriting agency and curriculum business. I'm telling you about some of the systems and processes that I've put in play for the last 7 years now. I teach more of these inside the Art of Efficiency, my all new revamped, ready to go course that's coming out soon. Be sure to look down below to get on that wait list. If we've not yet met, hello there. I'm Ashlyn Carter. I'm a conversion copywriter and brand and launch strategist behind Ashlyn Writes and the Copy Bar. It's a copywriting template shop. I am passionate about what I do because not knowing what to say shouldn't be holding you back from making sales. I want to get straight into these, starting with tip number 1. Do get super duper clear on a job description. In just a sec, I'm going to flip the camera around and show you a tool on my screen that I use all the time when I'm outsourcing things. I'm also going to tell you where I get job descriptions from. But there's a stat that matters first. According to Career Builder Survey, the cost of a bad hire can be around $15,000. That is, companies lose around $15,000 per bad hire. After doing this for about 6 years, I can say that is spot on the money. I have absolutely lost money hiring, and that's the first kind of takeaway. You will mess up along the way, and that's okay. Hopefully, I'll give you some tips in this video to help mitigate that, but this is why it's so important to find the right person for the right seat on the bus. You will be investing and absolutely shift your brain to think about hiring or outsourcing as making an investment in your business. You're putting the money back into the business. You may not see that return for a bit. More on that in a later do that I have for you, but when you figure out that good job description and you're starting to go through and think, what are the tasks that I need this person to do? You're moving in the right direction. All right, first, let me flip the camera around and show you a tool. This is what we call our Vision Caster. In full disclosure, I saw an example of this kind of in Michael Hyatt's program on executive assistants. If you're bringing on an executive assistant, I totally recommend it. Not an affiliate thing, it was just a great program. And I find this tool so helpful when I'm getting things off my plate. Let me back up and explain. When you're the visionary, the CEO, you're probably great at casting this vision and communicating this big idea that you have, selling people on that idea, but you're probably not as good about the little details, not because you're not detail oriented, but because you like to move fast and you've got new ideas. You're moving down that road at a high clip. What this tool does is it makes me slow down and think, even when I do have somebody with a job description, like they fit the job description, all the checks, but I'm giving them a job, this makes me slow down and think, what are my goals with this? How does this person know when it's finished? How does this person know when they need help? Have I communicated where this fits in the whole business to them? That stuff is so important. So I hope that you can pause this, take a screenshot. That tool is so helpful. You can easily build one yourself. I know some of you fellow nerds love seeing how we organize our Google Drive. So voila, here you go. I am going to come over here so under our team folder, this is where I keep the vision casters. I'm going to go into the template first. Like I said, this is my slant on what I saw Michael Hyatt build and use to communicate with his executive assistant. It's been easier for me to use this not only with my EA, but anytime I've got something on my plate that I need to hand off, I will do a better job explaining it if I just use this tool instead of trusting myself to communicate thoroughly, because I won't. I think a good question is, why is this important? Especially, I'm a question asker. I always want to know what's the purpose of this. And so this is helpful. Any important features or resources or tools that I want somebody to use as they build it out is here. And then intended outcomes, like what do I actually expect? When do we know that this is done? Do and budget, I think, are helpful as well, especially if this is going to somebody on your team that gets to make selections like that. That can be helpful. Okay, I think it might be more beneficial though for you to see one of these done. So let's go through. This is, okay, I handed off some sales page copy to my own agency because I was tight. I had done the full sales page. I was writing emails for a funnel, but the OTO page, the one-time only offer page, I needed some help with. And so I needed them to get me started, my team, and then I can take and go from there. So this, you can see example of something filled out, like watch these rundowns to kind of see what I'm talking about. I'll link to different looms. Yeah, so I hope that this helps. This tool has been unbelievably fantastic because clearly I'm a better explainer when I have to put things out on paper and not just trust my brain. When it comes to writing the job description itself, in the past, I used to just go to LinkedIn and play around and kind of hodgepodge together my own job description based off other ones out there. And that kind of worked for about 6 years. I did find a shop that I want to tell you about. We've worked with them on some other HR stuff. The Paradigm shop has great job description templates that you can just purchase and download. Here's why that's important. I started to learn over time that there are comps out there that a good HR team will run, and they will understand about the going rate for different positions that you're trying to fill. That is why having a collected pool of job descriptions that is approved by somebody in the industry can be a helpful place to start, especially if you're kind of clueless about this like I was. Here's a pro tip on this one. Be persnickety about the deliverables that you're getting, whether you're working with somebody as a contractor or a vendor, or even if they are your employee. So when you're bringing on a contractor in your business, it has helped me before to really make sure that I'm asking for, can I have an itemized list of all of the deliverables that I get when I hire you for this? Like, what is the outline? If they're giving you some sort of vague proposal, ask for more. You need to see exactly what you're getting, because that's gonna help you process and know when you're done with the project. When is it finished? Communication, two-way street, you know all that. If you're a contractor or a service provider, this is your PSA. Make sure that you're giving a very clear list of deliverables, delineated, outlined, kind of like a receipt when you're checking out. Being able to have my receipt list, and when I'm working with the contractor, note where, okay, did I get that? Did I get that? Where's that? That has been so helpful. So there you go, there's a pro tip. Next, do not hand off a mess. It's tempting, I know, to just get it off your plate, but you will be dissatisfied 10 times out of 10. My hot take here that I've said for years, you need to know enough to be dangerous about what it is that you're hiring for. You do not need to be an expert at it. That's why you're hiring an expert, but you need to be able to talk to them in an educated way so you understand the deliverables you're getting, so you can help guide them. You can explain what you want. This is gonna mean you do need to take some time to understand the things that you're hiring for, but I have found it's the moments when I've hired out something and I've thought, you know, they've got it. I don't need to worry about it at all. Those have been the relationships that I didn't really manage well. It's always been so much helpful if I know enough to be able to have an educated conversation with them about their zone of genius that is not mine. But back to what I was saying, don't hand off a mess, and use that vision caster tool that I was telling you about earlier. If you can hand off a system though, or an SOP, or something in your Asana filing cabinet where they can use it and take it and run, that's immensely helpful. This is why I'm passionate about teaching systems like I do inside of the Art of Efficiency. Be in the practice of having your little antennas up for anything in your business that you're doing more than twice. It needs to be a process. It needs to be an SOP. And when you have that outlined, it's much easier to hand off to somebody and hand it off with KPIs. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. Don't hand off a mess. That is a big one. That goes hand in hand with this next one. You do need to hire though, in my opinion, before you feel ready. I used to think that hiring was for like the big girls that were further along, and it not only affected when I was first hiring for positions. I hired my mom to review envelopes for me for calligraphy and package orders because I was terrible at catching my mistakes. 6 months into my business, I brought on my first copywriters to help me service copywriting clients 13 months into my business, and I've just grown since from there. I was 6 years in business when I hired on my first 2 other full-time employees besides me. So I was the only full-time employee, just had so many contractors for about 6 years. I don't know if I'd recommend it. It was hard, but for better or worse, it happened. I don't know if the level that I'm at now is like a ton ahead of you in business or about exactly where you are, or if you're farther beyond me. I still feel like this, where I have to hire for positions that feel a little bit bigger than I'm ready for. It feels a little bit more big girl than like, oh, just me. But I think it's because I'm always in this place in my business where I built it all. I've done all the steps from the bottom up. When you're a startup, you really start from the bottom on the way up. It's not like you had some venture capitalist zooming in with a lot of cash so you could hire people. You've been doing all the steps on the way up. So it always does feel like I need to have positions and titles on my team that I'm like, are we that big yet? I don't know if that helps you, but it is helpful for me to think through that lens. When you're first starting to grow your team, contracting is a great way to get a feel for things. It's kind of like dating before marriage. It's also been helpful for me to initially start with a short-term project and see how the vibes are, vibe check. If I'm feeling good, I can usually move up to a retainer, and I have oftentimes had somebody in that position and then I've brought them on for an employee role. The employee level relationship is a huge commitment, but they are bought in, they are dependent on you. Your risk as the business shoots up because now you have to make this commitment that you have to their salary. And I'll just clarify as I do this video, when I say team, I mean contractors and employees. That's what my business is made of. A lot of the ones that I work with and I see the insides of, theirs are like that too. People have a mix in the digital marketer space. And both types of relationships are super duper valuable. I'll say this too, I veer a little bit more on the side of, I would rather hire experts or specialists in their areas, even if it means that I'll have more people in my Slack than I love as an introvert. I'd rather do that than have jacks of all trades. Back to the job descriptions I was talking about earlier, it's so helpful if they are in a certain lane and you're not Frankensteining too many roles. I've messed that up in the past as well. So yeah, that's my opinion. Project-based to hourly container to part-time employee and then full-time employee, that's not a bad path to jump along. Next, don't. When you move into an employee position, don't freewheel without any kind of review on the slate. Hello, hi, I've messed up here. Your employees want to know if they're hitting their marks, if they're missing their marks, what even are the marks? And I don't know why. It took me a while to figure that out. But I've seen it with other visionaries like me, so that's why I'm gonna put it out there for you too. I'm pretty forthright. If I like what you're doing, I'm gonna tell you. If I see you messing something up, I'm gonna give you a compliment sandwich, hopefully to help you fix that. But not everybody thinks like you as the visionary, and a lot of people want to know, what am I supposed to do? What is expected of me? And then how do I know that I've done a good job? And you need to have a rhythm in place where they can expect that. Last year was probably the biggest year I started to accept that I'm the leader of a team, like it or not. Again, maybe I'm just such an introvert and love to be in my little copy cave, but that was a big learning for me. Yes, this means you probably need to have some sort of schedule of quarterly and annual reviews. And if that makes you like start sweating and break out in hives, I get it, because I feel like that when I think about like, is my business big enough? Does it need to have reviews? I've come around to understanding it's a good thing. While I am a visionary type and respond to goals lists like Pavlov's dog, and I get so excited and just want to check things off, not everybody even likes creating goals like that. And they technically need you to do it because you're the visionary. Here is how I've learned to get used to the idea of reviews. And like I said, I've worked with an HR team, I'll link them down below, that helped me through this process. But if you can give your employees 3-ish KPIs and help them understand that they are absolutely the ones that can dial up the knob or dial it down and help affect these key performance indicators, these goals and metrics that you can measure, that gives you some basis to operate around when it comes to reviews. And you're letting them help craft them. When you're starting your small business, all of the KPIs are on your shoulders for so long. I didn't even think I realized that there were KPIs. I was just constantly aware of goals and things that needed to be happening at all times. And so again, it goes back to when you're the entrepreneur and you're growing from the ground up, you've shouldered so much of it so long, the understanding that somebody else can be responsible for other tasks is like, what? It's me. It's fine. I'll do it. That tends to be our attitude. But yeah, now we have reviews. What? Next, do. Always when you're hiring, constantly be in the mindset of, how will this make me more money? I know that Stu McLaren has said before that you should hire in the vein of people that can bring more traffic and more eyeballs into your business. Amy Porterfield has backed him up on that before, and I do tend to agree with that sort of, but if your expertise is traffic and you're so good at getting eyeballs, that's your zone of genius, it may be more helpful for you to get some non-traffic tasks off so you can stay in that lane. That was me for a long time. And then now, as I sit in more of a product development role in the business, I am looking and hiring jobs for people who can bring in the traffic. I thought that was an interesting nugget, which is why I wanted to suggest it, because yes, if you're inside Prime to launch, you know I talk about it constantly. Launching is a numbers game, it's an eyeballs game. You need eyeballs on your stuff to hit your numbers. This brings me to two other things. One, I want to let you know that one of the earlier tasks I handed off was helping me with content creation and getting content produced and done. Also, Pinterest traffic was one thing that I outsourced pretty early on. Secondly, regardless, I think that this tip boils down to you got to know your hourly rate. What value every hour is your time worth to your business as the CEO? And you need to look at every hire or outsourcing opportunity as a moment to look dollars and cents wise on paper. Will this help me make that and then some back, or will I be losing that? Something else that was surprising to me as I went on and built my business, and it sounds duh now, but it was not in the moment. Team, talent, staff, that is going to be the lion's share of your expenses. People's time in your business is expensive. A little more behind the scenes, I for years could run at about a 60 to 40% profit margin. Again, I'm mostly digital business, very few physical products, but I found that the more we grew and the more we increased all of the numbers in the business, then the more that it went down to closer to 50-50. Labor is expensive. It's also why it's so important to have great systems in your business, because time is money. The last don't think that just because you are remote that you don't have a team culture. You do. Another big realization to me, especially last year as we hired a lot, you're the leader and your team can't help but look at you as the leader. That was what was weirdest to me. It doesn't matter if I feel like I'm in a leader role that day, they can't help but filter all the messages that I send out to them through the lens of she is my boss. That's really weird for some of us to accept. You have a culture, whether you know it or not, in your business, in your Slack, in your Voxer, whatever you're using to communicate to your vendors and your contractors and employees. One thing I've challenged myself to get better at is, and you guys know how type A I am, so do I have to schedule these things? I absolutely do. But see how you can interject little moments of fun. Some of the things that I have found helpful doing in my business, we've started a Slack thread that's called Things I Bought and Liked, where everybody's just influencing everybody else. We also have a tool called GeekBot inside Slack that automatically does things like a workday startup and shutdown. You can set it to do those things. I think the startup is so helpful. And we've also had some fun teeing it up to ask us on Fridays at a random time, take a picture of what you're doing. That's been kind of a fun way to just have water cooler moments inside a remote business. One other thing we've done, we work with Gravy for our dunning process, if you know what that means. And they do this super cute thing in their Slack where they throw biscuits, virtual biscuits, to somebody who has done something in the Gravy team that is commendable. So we've taken that, I've done a little bit of an AW slant on it, and we throw bubbles if somebody does something great. I hope those are a few tidbits that help you think of some creative outside the box ways to manage culture within your remote team. Watching your business grow and getting to a place where you need help, whether you're outsourcing or hiring, that is a moment. Take yourself that moment. Outsourcing is key to scaling, and it can take a lot of the weight off your shoulders and let you stay in your zone of genius. Don't forget to look down below and grab my free guide, 5 things that you can outsource in your business. I know that's gonna be a super helpful tip. Also, don't forget to look down below and hop on the waitlist for the Art of Efficiency. It's launching soon. If you liked this video, tap that thumbs up button. Comment below, what other questions do you have about hiring and outsourcing? I am here for the questions. I love them. And share this video with a business bestie who may need it too. Now you know the do's and the don'ts of expanding your business and hiring. If you want to learn a little bit more about how I make decisions as the visionary and CEO of my creative small business, be sure to watch the next video I've got teed up for you. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.